So you're thinking about starting a consulting business, but where to begin? There are so many things to consider. Do I need a website? Do I need a logo? Maybe a business name? What about software? What are the other things that I need before I can get started? Well, on today's episode, I'm going to simplify it down and actually show you the three things that are core to ensure that you are able very quickly to build a successful consulting business.
I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
At the start of your consulting business, it can feel overwhelming, and that's because you're smart. And because you're smart, you're going to make a great consultant, but because you're smart, you can also visualize all the different things that you feel like you need to get done before you begin. But the reality is, the majority of those things that you're foreseeing in the future don't need to be done now. In fact, the first month, even the first 6 months of your consulting practice does not need a lot of the things that are nice to haves that you will add to the business to grow at a later date. So today I want to show you the three things that are core to get started on your consulting journey. But also, I'm going to talk about first the things that you don't need to have that are probably going to make it easier for you to get the ball rolling. The first of those things is an expensive website. In fact, at the start of your consulting practice, you don't have to actually spend much money at all. And a website is where people dump a lot of cash in and they lose a lot of momentum because they're taking a long time to get that website launched. Most people don't actually look at your website. In fact, for the consultants I work with, and I work with hundreds of them, they actually have a look at their website, and a very, very small amount of people actually go and visit it. Their LinkedIn profile is the thing that people will visit. And so rather than building a website at the start of your business, leave it till later until you've got something where it's a nice to have. It'd be nice to have a website, sure, but you don't need it at the beginning. Instead, focus on cleaning up your LinkedIn profile. Make it very clear about what you do and who you do it for, and most people are actually going to get the credibility of who you are through that alone. The second thing is a logo. A lot of people spend a lot of time, effort, and money on logos because they want to have their company represented. But the reality is a logo is a recall trigger, a thing that allows people to remember you. And so the recall trigger that's going to be even more effective than a logo, especially at the start of your consulting business, is your face. Your face becomes the logo. It becomes the recognizable element of your brand. And so rather than go and invest money in a logo, you actually invest money in your face, which means go and get yourself some good quality photography and don't get rid of the wrinkles. That's one of the things I see a lot of people, they go and they Photoshop all their photos, and what they do by removing wrinkles is they're removing experience and expertise. So get some good quality photos, yes, but don't go spending money on a logo because it means now you've got a faceless business. It's harder to build trust in a faceless business. It's far better to use your face and you can build that know, like, and trust. And finally, there's software. There's all sorts of different software you can invest in, but at the start of your business, you don't need it all because there are very expensive client relationship management systems, so CRMs, and people invest a lot of money in those things right at the start. And then number one, they don't have anyone to put into the system because they don't have any clients. And then they are these big systems that they don't tend to use because it's a waste of time. It actually gets in the way. And so what I recommend at the start is that you just invest in software that you are ready to use now. So as things come up and software becomes useful and can give you a return on investment straight away, that's when you invest in software. Now, later on down the track, you might look at it more strategically and you might consolidate the different softwares into a single piece of software. But at the start, just use what you need to actually get started. And most people are able to get started quite easily on some simple desktop publishing software, maybe the Google suite of products, Google Docs, Google Sheets, something like Microsoft, maybe the Microsoft products, just something that can enable them to, number one, create documents and send them, and number two, send email so that they can communicate. So that was just three of the things that you shouldn't be doing. I'd be interested for you to put into the comments below. What are some other things that you think are distractions that a lot of people focus on that you know that you're not going to do because you're going to build a successful consulting practice? Now let's get on to the things that you should do. So I've talked about what you don't want to do. Now let's talk about what you do want to do to ensure that you get yourself a successful business. And this can apply to any business of expertise, but essentially the consulting business is the one we're focusing on. So the first is, before you start a consulting practice, you really have to have something, and that is expertise. Now, I call that outcome expertise because it's about helping people get outcomes. That's how you can ensure that you're providing value to people, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So, outcome expertise is not just about knowing stuff, but it's about knowing stuff that's going to be useful from getting someone from here to there. And so, we're talking about a result. Can we help our client get a result? And then, is that result valuable? And so we need to understand what is the value of the result we're creating. Now, at the start of your business, you might not be 100% clear as to your value proposition. What value are we providing to the client? But I'd like you to work that out as soon as possible, because it's going to make sales and marketing and you being in demand so much easier. So when I talk about value, it should be some form of quantifiable measurement. So that could be, yes, getting people more money, but it also could be saving them money. It could be reducing the risk within whatever's going on in their world. It could be getting them a faster result or a slower result if they want to actually slow something down. There are all sorts of different aspects to value, but it should be a quantifiable measurement so that people go, I'm here and I want to get there. How do I do that? And how can you as the consultant guide me? And finally, they have to want it. There are so many consultants at the start of their journey going out on a mission and saying, I'm going to fix this problem in the industry. And what ends up happening is that they go out to the industry and they go, this is a problem you want to fix. And the person says, nope, that's not a problem I want to fix. In fact, that's way down the priority list of things that I want to sort out right now. And so ensuring that your outcome expertise focus on things that your client or your market want is one of the keys to having a successful business. All right? So expertise. If you don't have expertise, go and get them. Go and do some work with somebody, actually join a business where you can learn some skills, or just look at the skills that you've got at hand and say, all right, what speciality can I focus on to start my consulting practice? Then over time, you can always broaden that out. Now, the second piece is client flow. If we don't have clients, we are not running a successful business. And client flow is where we're talking about clients coming into the business, and we should be releasing clients out the other end because we are successfully getting them a result. Now, they might come back through the business, but it's the movement through the business that actually creates a successful business because it's a flow. It creates lifeblood in the business. We've got cash flow coming in, we've got clients coming in, and what we're not doing is we're not sitting with like 3 or 4 clients for like 5 years, and then suddenly one of those disappears. We haven't built a marketing and sales engine, and now we're scrambling to try and get back to where we were. So client flow is being in demand. That's really what you want to do. Now, at the start of your consulting business, you're not going to be in demand, right? You've got to build that demand somehow. And the key, back to what we were talking about before, is who? Who are you focusing on as far as engaging these people? Now, you could just go to your local network and say, I'm doing consulting now, who needs consulting? But the reality is, it's not specifically talking to a result, it's probably not going to be valuable, and it's not something that people want generally unless it's tied to an outcome that they're after. So who do you want to focus on? My recommendation when you start is play to your strengths. Who do you already know? What industries do you know? What are the connections that you already have? Because who moves to contacts. As a consultant, we want to have a list of contacts that we can speak to. And by speaking to these people, we identify the symptoms that are happening within their business, the things that they are not liking, and then identify what are the steps they need to take to remove those symptoms, to actually get the outcome they want. And so we need people to speak to see if this is something that they might be interested in. Now, the way that you actually run a consulting practice is not like a service business. We're not going to people and saying, here's my offering. That's a service-based business. A consulting-based business is much more like a doctor. We're actually having a conversation with people to diagnose, is there anything for us to fix here? And if there's not anything for us to fix there, we leave them and we move ahead. Otherwise, we start to feel like a salesperson, and we're not aiming for that result. So we need to have contacts. And so at the very start of your business, you may have your local contacts. So that's a great place to start. We start talking to those people. But if you want to broaden that, we're going to have to start connecting with people so that we can broaden our circle of influence and the amount of contacts that we can speak to. And so this is a key part of a consulting practice, is to constantly be engaging those contacts who are in the market, the people we're after. They're the people we suspect could use us for these outcomes. And we identify those people, we connect with them, we turn them into leads by actually getting their contact details, we have conversations with them over time, and we identify which ones are prospective clients because they have symptoms that we can solve. And then we would move into a process. Now, that's the key with the next part, is that you need to have a process. Now, the process itself is a marketing process and a sales process. They are actually one path to you. A lot of people go into the consulting space and they get a couple of referrals and they go, all right, great. All I need to do is just get referrals. But the problem with referrals is they don't come when you need them. If you need a client right now, there's not someone just going, here is a referral. They come when they come because it's a handout. Someone's giving you the opportunity to work with this person. My suggestion is that you start to build a process for connecting with contacts, having a conversation, identifying what are the symptoms that they want to actually get rid of, and then moving them through to a sale. Now, we have a system called the Codex, which we use inside the Forge Business Program and the Consulting Guild, and that teaches you all the steps that you need to know. But any process is better than no process, yet the majority of people that I speak to who are struggling a little bit in their consulting practice are lacking process. What is the process to move someone from a suspect to a lead to a prospect to a client? Now, the third step is something that doesn't have to come straight away, yet will start straight away, which is your brand. And I call that an authority brand because it's not just about having a brand, it's about having a brand that people know you for a specific reason. There is an authority to what you are presenting to the market because people know you as an expert in your space. And so there's elements to that which are not just know, like, and trust. You know, in the old model of marketing, people need to know you, like you, and then trust you. Well, we flip that around when it comes to consulting because we want to know them. We want to be curious about them. So know flips around. Who are you? We want to know you. We want to know if we like you to work with you because we don't want to create a business where we want to work with people that we don't like. You know, the great thing about having a consulting practice is you get to be selective. You get to select the clients that you want to help. And so do we like them? And then do we trust that they're not going to waste our time? Because there's plenty of people who don't do the activities that we suggest. And so we want to work with people who are coachable. We want to work with people who are action orientated. We want to work with people that we can get a result, because a large part of the work is going to be done on their side, not just on ours. So we get to be selective. And so there's a process in that. Now, a large part of it is how do we create a position of authority? And the first one is with the piece I've already given you, which is the LinkedIn profile. We want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is talking to specifically who and what results you're getting for people. Then at least you've got a position, you start connecting with more people, then people know you. And there's the old adage that, well, I'm kind of well positioned because the people who know me, but the rest of the market doesn't, right? And so how do you move from market anonymous to market aware? And this awareness piece becomes the large next part. There are 3 ways to actually create really big awareness in the market. We could go one-to-one and meet these people individually and go to networking functions where we might speak to 2 or 3 people there. But there are much bigger and better ways to become, for you to become the market leader and for people to become aware of you. The first of those is to present. So be out there presenting on your area of expertise. You can actually give keynote presentations, you can do training courses, you can do all sorts of things so that people see you one-to-many. And you can start educating them, and through the educational process, they start to see you as the authority on your topic. Now, the other one is to publish. Now, a lot of people want to publish because they really like the idea of having a book. But the reality is a book takes a long time to produce. And so a faster way to get market awareness around you, but to not have to write an entire novel, is to actually go and publish in industry publications. Do that and people will start to see you as the expert within your space, right? The place that you're actually playing in your niche. And finally, the other one that you can actually do is public relations. This is something that not enough people do. but it is actually free. It's easy to do. You can contact both industry publications, but also big media publications, and you can offer stories that are relevant to their readers, to their listeners, to their watchers. And by doing that, you're actually creating really good content for them. So thinking about the audience of the media engagement that you're actually going to work with, put a press release out there, and that press release is something that they may pick up. Let's say you put one of these out like a day. If you wanted at the start, you could put out one a week. But the faster you put these things out there, the more opportunities you get. People start to interview you. They start to put you on their podcast. They start to put you on the television. You know, we've got on the television a number of times simply by putting a story out to these producers who then go and ring us up and say, tell me more about that. And then they get you on the television, right? It's not that hard to do. All you've got to do is look up, do a little bit of research as who are the producers for the media spaces where your market is, right? Then you can create this real awareness. And the final thing that I would be recommending is that you start to create some form of content. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to be dancing on TikTok, but it means that you're actually starting to talk about your area of expertise. And by doing that, it actually helps you in two different ways. Number one, you create articles, you create posts and social engagement that connects with those people who are your right who's and enables them to experience you and spend a little bit of time with you and start to consider you as an expert in their world. So it's really good on that end. But on the other side, probably even more powerful, is it helps you start to really think about how your expertise is evolving in a constantly evolving environment. And so by creating regular content, and I reckon you should at least have a piece of content that you create every single week if you're going to be a successful consultant. Creating that article about your area of expertise is going to help you look at the environment around you. It's going to go, how is that moving? How is it shaping? And how is my content being relatable and relevant? And by being relatable and relevant to the context of what's going on, you become relatable and relevant to your market, right? So a lot comes around this who and picking this who. Now, you don't have to do that straight away, right? As I said at the start, you can look at the area where you have the most experience and you can start there and you can evolve. You know, things can change over time. You don't have to have all these answers at the beginning. What you do need is to have some way of getting people a result. And then you'll become a better consultant over time. You'll start to get the tools, you'll start to get the skills and the frameworks, and you'll start to develop your own frameworks. But you don't have to have that at the start. You just need to be able to take someone from here and get them to there. The second one is we do need to actually get some clients. And so identifying who, making those contacts and having a process to bring them into our world. And finally, over time, right at the start, we've got our face is the first part of our brand. We're using LinkedIn to at least position ourselves effectively. But after that, we're actually creating market awareness through the content we're creating and through the other ways that we can create exposure for us and our business. So if you focus on these three things at the start of your consulting journey, rather than be distracted by all the other little bits and pieces out there, you're going to be far more successful than most consulting businesses. And if you are just getting started, you might want to get the resource that we've got in the comments there. You can actually click the link and you can download it absolutely free right now. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notified when the next episode becomes available. This is episode 142 of the Your Consulting Business podcast. My name's Russell Pearson. Until next time, stay passionate and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.